Hey guys, it's Average, welcome back to the channel, and today we take a look at the Nemeth Designs Partenavia P-68. It's the Victor. Now, this includes detailed, accurate model, typical jargon in a release for, we made a 3D model, it's not a Lego brick. 4K textures, again, standard these days. Realistic flight dynamics based on real-world data, not experience. Realistic aircraft operation based on manuals. 12 liveries, as you can see here. 3D high-def sound pack, and a manual, which has some aircraft background and shows you where switches are. That's about it. So the P-68 Partenavia, now the Vulcan Air P-68, is a light aircraft designed by Luigi Pascal, originally built by Partenavia, now by Vulcan Air, in 1998. It is a 6-seat high-wing monoplane with twin IO 360s, producing 200 horsepower per engine. From 1970, 431 have been built to date. That's the Cessna 172. And it's operated by numerous police and military agencies around the world. And civilians, of course. Now, they're used by the Bahamas, Chile, Germany, Italy, as expected. But I was surprised to find the National Police Air Service in the UK use them. Or at least they use the Observer version, most likely. Which has a much more glass nose to it for, obviously, observation purposes. And in America, apparently California as Department of Fish and Game, New York State Police, Tennessee Wildlife, and Washington State Natural Resources agencies use them as well. Like I said, a crew of 1, seats 5 passengers. Now, it has a empty weight of 3,100 pounds, max takeoff weight of 4,500, so that's a reasonable load. We talk about the 2-blade propellers with the 2 IO 360s. Now, she can cruise at 160, stalls at 57 knots, 1,100 nautical mile range, and get up to 18,000 feet. Now, this is €21. Typical kind of market price we get for add-ons, and similar to what we've had in the past with some of Nemeth's aircraft. Notably, they released the Aerolite 103 little kind of light aircraft thing, little glider. What's the word for those? It's like a parasail with a seat. Either way. We also had the Yak, and we also had the Sai Marchetti 205. So let's take a look at this thing. We'll go outside first before we look at the cockpit. Let me slow down my camera here. So their 3D models on the exterior-wise do tend to look decent. It's kind of clean in terms of not a lot of depth to the panels beyond the fact there's good actual rivet detail and panel detailing. Texturing's decent from what I can see here. Pretty decent job overall with the exterior. It does seem to be leaning to the left slightly here. Or right, sorry. On the tarmac. That wing does look notably lower on the right hand side. So it doesn't sit straight, that's fair enough. Maybe the real one doesn't. So we've got, well, his brakes and his wheels. Overall, texture is pretty good. Now, typically Nemeth don't have openable doors and things. Typically when your camera's this close, you could access them. Or even from the inside. No. Okay. I will just drop my controller. Now, hit the stock sim door buttons, which tend to work if you can't quite access the handle. We'll go third person, try that again, rather than the drone view. Nada. Okay. Let's take a look inside, shall we? Wrong button to press. That's the right button to press. So what do we have? We have a custom radio stack here with period equipment. Let's set the power on here so we can see these. All the gauge glass looks a little milky. I'll say that. Obviously it works with the 430 from Working Title. Can we open these? We can. Oh, they're lock and drag. Okay. These can be quite annoying when you're flying because they tend to take ages to close and unclose. Unclose, God. I mean open. Set these to the correct tanks. 51 gallons aside. We'll put our fuel boost pumps on, which are up there. We have our mags here, which when I turn them on will go on. Some placarding up here. Texture is okay, but it's let down, I think, by the panel. The milky gauge glass is kind of distracting. and a little unpleasant. I can imagine having some reflection or some effects on there, but it doesn't look like glass. It just looks like kind of slightly milky film. That is... yeah, it looks a little kind of FSX-y. That's the best way I could describe this. And I don't believe they released one for FSX, so... a little behind the curve there. We have our electronics down here. Breakers do not function, that I can tell. No clickable bars or manuals. That's one thing. Nemeth don't tend to do kind of ground candy features and or chalks, doors and things. That's not typically what they tend to do, so fair enough. But for the price of €20, you kind of expect either some systems depth or functionality or more candy for that price. If you're going to be light on systems, at least have some candy for that kind of ballpark figure. Otherwise, go cheaper. I will say with the interior texturing, it's kind of leaning on the FSX side of things. It's good, it's just not... I wouldn't say this is 4K on the inside. And if it is, it's 4K in the wrong areas. Can I even put it? I can't even put a coffee cup in there. God, that's the end of my world. Otherwise, it's pretty simple aircraft. Let's give her a spin and try her out, shall we? Oh, we have autopilot controls down here. It's an older style one, which, considering it was built from the 70s onwards, you'd think they'd have maybe slightly more modern avionics through to now, because this feels like original 70s equipment. I know that autopilot certainly is. Let's give her a kick, shall we? Parking brake is... oh god, parking brake is... let me put my toe brakes in. Actually, still goes forward, parking brake. Oh god, hello. No, let's not do that. Okay. Parking brakes are... we're rolling, and throttles are... I should be getting no thrust right now, but we are still moving. That's interesting. The thrust idle scalar seems to be kind of high on this model. So I'm not sure how the flight model adheres to real world data, because this should not move. And we're not going slow either. We're doing like nearly 20 knots. Huh. Go figure. Okay. So let's idle out here for a second. Put our props back up where they're meant to be. Slow this thing down from idle. This is quite unusual. I've never seen a piston prop, have this much speed at idle. That is concerningly high. It's like you have to set the parking brake if you want to stop at all. I wonder if she'll run on her brakes at about a 360's mag check RPM. We'll go for 1700. She's static at 1700. Where does she start moving? Bear in mind my feet are pressed down on the toe brakes right now. She's starting to move at 2000. Wow, at 2000 RPM, this thing's moving on its own. That is kind of impressive, but it moves on its own without brakes or anything. Okay. Do we get a sound difference with the window open? No difference to the sound. Okay. Oh, God. Slow down. Thank you. Let's take her for a fly, shall we, and see how she behaves. It's probably best to be in the middle of the runway. Whoa! Whoa! Okay. Rocket ship. I wonder how quickly I can take... that's pretty quick. Doesn't have a lot of climb performance, but she accelerates very quickly. I'm kind of... okay, she feels a little wallowy. But we'll get up to kind of level, stable flight first. Put it back to 2250 or so. Wait a second. My RPM moves when I have my props completely coarse. It's behaving as if it's a fixed pitch. Huh. Strange. So she's very slow on the roll, which for a high-wing twin is not unexpected. You know, they're not known to be super-duper agile. Stable, yes. The speed is good. Way too much thrust on the ground, that's for sure. Decent view, I will say. Do we move these? Okay, they can be moved. People have asked why I leave my tooltips on in the sim. It's because I want you to know where all the buttons are. She sounds okay, but nothing to write home about in external. Okay, let's bring her around and set her up for a landing. I wonder if this will lose speed. I'm guessing this will really struggle to lose speed, given how quick it is to accelerate and how much it wants to accelerate on takeoff. Where's my airport? There it is. We're losing speed very rapidly, actually. I'm kind of surprised. Dropping down to 100 knots. Okay, I put my flaps out a little too quickly there. Huh. And she's building up speed now as I'm descending. Let's help her a little bit, shall we? Whoa! Okay, don't slip this aircraft. It does not like that in the slightest. Okay, we're losing speed again. We're on a reasonable approach path-ish. This is weird on low thrust. It's like we're dropping like a rock, but we're not decelerating. Duh. I was losing altitude, but I wasn't slowing down. Like, it felt like it wanted to drop, and that stopped so quickly. Wow. Yeah, I felt like it was dropping very quickly, but it wasn't slowing down, but I didn't feel like I had the lift to stay up, if that makes sense. Like, it wanted to go down the way an aircraft losing lift, low on energy feels, but it's like when I took off. It felt like I accelerated very quickly, but it was super, super sluggish to get lift. Like, it lifted off pretty quickly, but then it struggled to climb. Whereas here, it feels like I struggled to lose airspeed, but I lost lift. That's really odd. The flight model does feel kind of whack, gonna say. The engine performance is definitely whack. The flight model feels kind of off. 3D model's decent. Exterior looks good. Interior, let me put the parking brake on here, otherwise it's going to roll everywhere. No, the moving idle is quite weird. That's not right. And let me cut the engines here so we can talk for a second. So the engine performance is whack. The aircraft's ability to roll idle is very strange. Pulling on the parking brakes is not exactly unusual, but I'm surprised for two 200 horsepower engines the brakes can't hold it. Acceleration on takeoff, it accelerates very quickly, but it feels to gain lift quite slowly. I'm not heavy, so I don't expect to take a long distance in takeoff, but with that acceleration speed, I thought this would go up like a rocket ship. It didn't. On descent, I felt like I was descending quickly. Now, when I put it into a side slip, you saw there, it got squirrely real fast. It did not like being in a side slip. And as soon as we were on final, it was dropping quickly, but I was losing lift, like it was going down because it wanted to go down without the power. but I wasn't slowing down in terms of head-on speed. And our touchdown was kind of clunk rather than bounce. I expected that kind of vertical speed to bounce, but we just clunked onto the runway. It's like it ran out of all its energy. This is a weird one, and for €20, it feels much for this. This feels like their last ones. It feels like it's a little bit over what one would expect, given what you get. If the flight model was very good in this, I could see it being a good aircraft. It definitely needs a cockpit gauge glass fixing, minimum. The texture is okay, it's just the gauge glass needs correcting. The flight model needs looking at, the engine performance needs looking at. Something feels off about its flight model. And for €20 with no systems depth, and I'm not saying they need to give me an A2A aircraft for that price, I'm not expecting that. What I am expecting, though, is if you're going to charge what is going market value, at least give a couple of market features. There's no sound difference when you open the storm windows to closed. You can't open any doors, and there's no candy features like chocks or anything else, tie-downs, pitot covers, which is typically kind of standard these days. At least we have our stock pilots, that is one thing, but that's about it. I don't think I'd recommend this. If you like it, go for it, but I don't think I would recommend it. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye.